Back to our investigation about those FEMA trailers for Hurricane Katrina survivors that are shown to have formaldehyde in them. It would be worse than we thought. From Congress, allegations that FEMA kept another government agency from looking into and exposing the problem. Our Sean Calebs joins us now here in the CNN newsroom. We asked a question, Sean, before the break. Did they suppress the information about formaldehyde?
The heat is up on FEMA right now. That is the accusation that is coming from some congressional investigators. What they're concerned about is FEMA went to an entity within the CDC to do a study. Because FEMA knew back in 2006 formaldehyde is in these trailers and in high levels that are a concern. Now, they asked the CDC to do a very short-term study, and that's the big concern. We had a chance to speak earlier today with Nick Lampson. He is a Texas Democrat, a congressman who was on the Committee on Science and Technology, and he has some real questions about the way FEMA does its work.
Told poor people that couldn't live elsewhere that if they were afraid of the health risks to raise the windows. You don't do that. That's not what our government has been about. We care about people. We want people to be treated like our families would be treated. Not following good science in advising people to do things as they try to recover from one tragedy is indeed a much greater tragedy. This is compounding. This appears perhaps to be the tip of an iceberg that we don't know how large could be.
That's tough stuff. And what Lampson says is FEMA said to mitigate the problem, just ventilate, open the window. And that's not going to work for people living 18 months in a travel trailer. We're not talking about a mobile home. We're talking about a travel trailer. Now, FEMA says, look, we knew about the problems. We've been very transparent with our concerns, and we're doing everything we can. But to a lot of people, this is just another glaring example of how poorly FEMA was prepared to deal with this.
Especially in the wintertime, you want to, it gets cold when you're in a trailer. It's not like being in, something that's brick and mortar. And Wanda Phillips, her voice, I mean, she says that's from, she says it's
the high levels of formaldehyde. We went in her trailer, and it had been sealed for some time. It's out in some land that she and her husband own, about 40 miles from her house. The second we went in that trailer, our eyes started watering. You could an unpleasant sensation that was almost like, a kind of a sandpaper-like feel. I mean, if you had to live in that, it'd be difficult. FEMA says it's doing everything it can, and there is a long-term study coming out, Don, next month that everybody's waiting to see because they're talking about the possibility of toxins that could cause cancer.
And it's just amazing. If you've ever been in one of those trailers, and I went in one and I said, you've been living in this for 2.5 years. I asked the lady, she goes, oh, and this is a big one. You know what I mean?
A family of four, living in 400 square feet.
And before I let you go, real quickly, when you were telling me about this investigation, we were talking about it, you find one story in New Orleans, and that leads you to another story and to another story. Really, how much more, Sean, can these folks take? It just seems unbelievable.
It is tough. And the sad thing is, I think that to a lot of people who look and they see the BCS going great, they see the Sugar Bowl down there going great, and they know that President Bush wants to bring, a very important meeting coming there in April. But if you go just outside the French Quarter, just outside the Garden District, it looks like it did not terribly long after August 29th. And you know what? It's a trifecta of disasters, a failure on city, state, and federal government to help these people.
It's just sort of mind-boggling when you go down. And as you know, it's near and dear to my heart, and as well as Kira. She's lived there. I'm from the area, so I appreciate you bringing the story. Thank you very much.
Next time you're down there, give us a shout.
I will. Thank you very much.